I did not go deaf all at once. At first, it was only a void. I could see other people's mouths moving, yet no sound reached me, as if an invisible veil had dropped between me and the world. Strangely, I did not panic, because when sound disappeared, something else slowly emerged. Fang Ting's heartbeat, Ma Tianhao's breathing, the faint vibration of the air when someone crossed the courtyard. This was not hearing with the ears, it was hearing with fate. And I understood. Heaven was not merely taking something away. Heaven was forcing me to change the way I existed. That afternoon, Ma Tianhao suddenly froze in the middle of the courtyard. His face went deathly pale. I saw it clearly. Above his head, a gray thread as thin as hair fell into place. A death line. It appears only when the Heavenly Dao has already marked someone. I moved fast and grabbed his wrist. His fate was being pulled away. Not illness, not accident, but his name had been called. Night fell, the wind rose, no yin wind, no ominous signs, yet the entire villa felt as if it had been pressed down by an invisible weight. Fang Ting stood beside me, gripping my hand tightly, her gaze unnaturally calm. She could see what she never could before. "Something is coming," she said softly. I nodded. I didn't need to hear. I could feel it. An unseen force was forcing Ma Tianhao's life off its proper trajectory. There was no mastermind behind it, no dark sorcery, only the Heavenly Dao correcting an error. I could save Ma Tianhao. All it would take was a minor act of defying fate, borrowing just a little more of the dragon path. But the instant that thought formed, pain stabbed through my chest. Not a warning, a limit. I understood perfectly. If I saved him, the next to die would be Fang Ting. Heaven does not negotiate. It does not bargain. Fang Ting turned to me. She didn't ask anything. She just looked into my eyes for a long time. Then she let go of my hand. "Let me," she said. I froze. She stepped in front of Ma Tianhao and placed her hand over his chest. At that moment, the aura around her changed completely. No longer gentle, but sharp, like a thin blade. "I'm not defying heaven," she said. "I'm only changing where I stand." That single sentence made my blood run cold. Fang Ting bit the tip of her tongue. A drop of blood fell to the ground, but it did not disperse. It spread outward, forming a pale circle, like moonlight compressed into shape. The death line above Ma Tianhao's head trembled violently, then snapped. At the same time, a gray mark appeared on Fang Ting's wrist. Not a wound, a life debt seal. I rushed forward and grabbed her hand. Her heartbeat was slow, slower than normal. No thunder, no wind, only... The pressure vanished. The Heavenly Dao was neither angry nor pleased. It merely recorded a change. Someone who was never meant to be on the board had stepped onto it. When everything finally settled, I suddenly lost my balance. The world tilted sharply. Not dizziness, but the gravity of my fate had changed. I collapsed. This time, it wasn't just that I couldn't hear. I could no longer sense direction. Up, down, front, back. Everything merged into one. Inside my mind, a clear, icy thought appeared. The second price, sense of position. I laughed. Blood ran down the corner of my mouth. Heaven, you really do keep careful accounts. That night, no one slept. Fang Ting sat beside me the entire night. Her hand pressed to my chest, keeping my heartbeat from drifting further. Ma Tianhao knelt in the courtyard, forehead against the ground. He didn't cry. He only repeated one sentence, over and over. "I deserve to die." I placed my hand on his shoulder. This time, I didn't need to locate him. because I knew exactly where I was, in between payment and defiance. Near dawn, I felt a familiar disturbance, deep, slow, from beneath the earth, from the Phoenix Eye Point of Guanyin Mountain. Not a summons, but a reminder. If you can endure, keep going. If you cannot, turn back. I lay still, eyes closed, a tired smile formed. Grandfather, I've already stepped onto the board. How could I turn back now? The next morning, the gray mark on Fang Ting's wrist did not fade. It wasn't a bruise, it didn't hurt. But every time she touched it, her heartbeat skipped a beat. I didn't need to see, I could feel it. Her fate was no longer sealed as it once was. Don't cover it, I said. She started to pull her sleeve down, then stopped. I don't feel cold, she said softly, but I feel like something is watching me. I nodded. That's the Heavenly Dao, I said. It's not watching you. It's counting. Ma Tianhao brought someone with him. A wandering Taoist cultivator, once acquainted with Ma Pingsheng. The moment he crossed the threshold, he stepped back half a pace. This is bad, very bad. He stared at Fang Ting for a long time, then said something that silenced the room. This young lady has been placed on the reserve list. Reserve. Not someone meant to die immediately, but someone who will die if needed. I could not teach Fang Ting directly. The Azure Path methods are passed only through bloodlines, but I could teach her how to stand within the game without being crushed. I had her sit on the mat. No spirit gathering, no divination. Just one thing, to recognize where her fate stood. Don't think about living, I told her. Don't think about dying either. Only think, if the Heavenly Dao pushes you one step, how do you stand without falling? She closed her eyes for a long time. Then she opened them. I see a bridge, she said. No railings. I don't know how long it is. I let out a quiet breath. She saw it correctly. That afternoon, Death Aura appeared again. Not toward me, not toward Ma Tianhao, but straight toward Fang Ting. I felt it clearly. Something was trying to pull her off the path of the living, not forcefully, but persistently, like a patient hand. Fang Ting suddenly stopped. She looked down. There's a sound under the ground, she said. I froze. She could hear it. Not with her ears, with her fate. A thin crack appeared in the stone tiles. From it, a hand of earth reached up and grabbed her ankle. Not violent, not vicious, just pulling. I couldn't react in time, because this wasn't sorcery, this was debt collection by the ledger. Fang Ting didn't scream. She bent down and placed her free hand on the earthen wrist. Not now, she said. Not an order, a negotiation. At that instant, the gray mark on her wrist darkened. The earthen hand paused, then withdrew. The crack closed. I collapsed, not from fear, but because her fate force had just been deducted. The wandering Taoist spoke in a trembling voice. She just used her own life force to postpone the collection. Not defying heaven, not breaking the board, only asking for delay. He looked at her as if she were a monster. Do you know, he said, each time you do this, you lose a part of yourself? Fang Ting nodded. I know. That night, it was just the two of us. She sat beside the bed, her voice very soft. I'm not afraid of dying, she said. I'm only afraid, she paused, that I won't be lucid enough to die at the right time. I held her hand. I couldn't hear. I couldn't orient myself. But I understood. She had accepted the rules of the game. Not out of love, but because, if no one stood beside me, I would die faster. From that day on, me, no hearing, no spatial sense, but able to see fate. Fang Ting, able to hear the Heavenly Dao, uses life force, but is steadily diminished. We became two halves of an unstable whole. Before sleep, I felt a distant disturbance, not from the earth, from above, as if something was preparing to descend, not urgent, but inevitable. The bride has entered the board. The next step will no longer be a test. The envoy arrived at the hour of the ox. No knocking, no announcement. Only a portion of moonlight vanished from the courtyard. I stood up at once. No need to see, no need to hear, because the fate field in the courtyard had been pressed lower. Fang Ting tightened her grip on my hand. That person has no shadow. I nodded. Yes, because he does not belong to the earth. He stood beneath the locust tree, neither tall nor short, neither old nor young. His face was pale, like unmarked paper. No clear features, only two deep dark eye sockets, plain gray robes, no ornamentation. Yet every fold of fabric was terrifyingly exact. No excess, no deficiency. Such a being could only be one thing, a tool of the Heavenly Dao. Chen Xieyang, he spoke my name. No voice, no tone, just a thought placed directly into my mind. You have crossed the threshold. The Heavenly Dao has sent me to assess the losses. Fang Ting stepped half a pace forward. And after assessment? She asked. The envoy turned to her. For a long time. Then compensation will be collected. He raised his hand. A translucent board appeared in the air. No writing, no symbols. But I saw it clearly. Names, not written in ink, written in fate. Ma Pingsheng, 3 disciples of the Dragon Tiger sect, 1 person not yet dead, and Fang Ting. Her name glowed brighter than the others, not because she was closest to death, but because she was still usable. I tightened my grip. For a moment I wanted to overturn the board, but I knew if I acted, the list would only grow longer. The Heavenly Dao does not ask for reasons, the envoy said. It only calculates balance. You rode the dragon path. You struck heaven's gate. 1. Price is not enough. Fang Ting was terrifyingly calm. How much? She asked. The envoy looked at her. 1 life, he said, in exchange for 1 day of peace. No more, no less. Ma Tianhao stepped forward. No shaking, no tears. Let it be me, he said. This life was borrowed anyway. I shook my head violently, not out of mercy, but because it violated the rules. The envoy looked at him. You have already been approved to continue living, he said. You are not on today's list. Hope died instantly. Fang Ting released my hand. She stepped forward. I grabbed her. For the first time, I was truly panicked. No hearing, no orientation. But I knew with absolute clarity, if she took 1 more step, there would be no return. She turned to look at me. Her gaze was perfectly calm. You still have to go on, she said. As for me, I can stop here. I knelt, not before the envoy, but before the rule itself. Change the terms, I said. Take me. The envoy looked at me for a long time, then shook his head. You are not permitted to die yet. 1 sentence, crueler than any punishment. At that moment, the fate board trembled violently. 1 name faded, not Fang Ting's, not Ma Tianhao's, but someone far away. The envoy froze. For the first time, he hesitated. Someone has volunteered to take the place. The air solidified. I felt a fate thread snap from the direction of Guanyin Mountain's Phoenix Eye. The board dissolved. The envoy stepped back. 1 life has been paid. 1 day of peace is granted. He looked at me. But Chen Xieyang, he said, You owe the Heavenly Dao an explanation." With that, he dissolved into darkness, no trace left behind, no residual aura. I stood motionless. Inside my mind, there was only one sensation left: emptiness. Fang Ting's voice trembled. "Is it?" I didn't answer because I knew there was only one person who could voluntarily replace a name on that list, the one who had evaded heaven for 10 years, the one who bore the divine dragon coffin. Dawn came. Birds began to sing. I couldn't hear them, but I knew that was the sound of a peaceful day bought with a human life. I clenched my fist. This time, there was no retreat left. We went up the mountain before full daylight. No car, no guide. The familiar childhood path no longer aligned with direction. Each step I took, I felt my fate being pulled aside, as if the mountain itself refused to acknowledge my existence. Fang Ting walked beside me. She didn't ask anything, because we both knew this journey might end with only one of us coming back down. My grandfather's grave lay exactly at the Phoenix Eye point. No grass grew, no moss clung. The surrounding earth was dry and hard, as if it had never been disturbed. But I saw clearly, beneath the ground, the chi veins were in turmoil, not from time, but because whatever was inside had just stopped, holding them together. Fang Ting shivered slightly. "There are many gazes here," I nodded. "Not ghosts," I said. "Witnesses." I placed my hand on the coffin lid. No talisman, no incantation, only the blood of one who carried the lineage. When the drop of blood touched the wood, crack, I didn't hear it, but I felt it in my bones. The coffin lid sprang open. Inside, nothing, no body, no bones. Only an ancient talisman stuck to the bottom, more than half burned. Fang Ting stepped back. "He's not here." I closed my eyes. I had already guessed. I knelt and touched the talisman. In that instant, images flooded my consciousness, not my memories, but my grandfather's final moments. He sat up inside the coffin, not panicked, not afraid. He looked up at the earth above him, utterly calm. "It's time." He took out the heaven evasion talisman. Not to live forever, but to extend one segment. Long enough for me to grow up. Long enough for me to step onto the board in his place. When the envoy descended, he did not resist. He only asked one question. "This life, can it buy one more?" The envoy nodded. He smiled. "Then it's enough." He was not killed. He was not collected. He gave his life willingly to sever heaven's surveillance of me for one day. That day was the wedding night. I collapsed. I did not cry, because that feeling was already gone. Only my fate shook violently. At the bottom of the coffin, besides the talisman, there was another object. A small wooden token, carved with 2 characters, "Question Heaven." On the back, in tiny script, "When you have nothing left to lose, use this." I gripped the token tightly. In that moment, I understood. This was not a tool. It was the right to ask. The wind rose. No sound, no cold. Only wind that pushed fate back onto its proper path. A familiar thought echoed within me. "I did not teach you to win. I only taught you to stand without kneeling." Fang Ting placed her hand over mine. "We don't have many days," she said, "but enough to ask heaven one question." I nodded. For the first time, I actively faced upward, not in challenge, not in supplication, but in preparation for dialogue. We filled the grave back in. No headstone, because the one who lay here had already left ordinary life and death. As we descended the mountain, I felt it clearly. The gaze from above had not left, but it had grown cautious. The wooden token in my hand was not cold, it was warm, as if it had been held for a very long time by someone else. I didn't need to test it. I knew with certainty this token could only be used once. Not because it would break, but because a human may ask heaven only once. Fang Ting stood behind me. "Have you decided?" she asked. I nodded. "Yes." We did not set up an altar. There was no need. Questioning heaven is not pleading. It is standing upright and asking. I stood in the Yumji's empty courtyard. I did not face the sky because I no longer had direction, but I knew heaven was watching. I sliced my palm with my fingernail. Blood flowed onto the wooden token. Not much, just one drop. At that instant, all surrounding light was withdrawn. Not darkness, but emptiness. No up, no down, no front, no back. Only my consciousness remained. I did not see heaven. I felt it, not as a being, but as a system. Neither good nor evil, knowing neither mercy nor hatred, only balance. And I was a variable. I did not ask why my grandfather had to die. I did not ask why my bloodline was monitored. I did not ask why Fang Ting had to bear fate. I asked only one question. Do humans have the right? No additions, no omissions. There was no verbal answer, but I saw a child who died young, a long-lived person who was hollow, a defier erased, a Boeing man preserved, not right, not wrong, only statistically acceptable. Then another image appeared, a human who did not bow, did not win, did not lose, only stood and did not vanish. That image was not erased from the system. I understood. Heaven does not forbid defiance. Heaven fears what it cannot control. Not the strong, but the unpredictable. My grandfather did not die for defying heaven. He died because he understood too well how to exploit its loopholes. The moment I understood, a portion of my consciousness was torn away. No pain, but gone forever. I knew with certainty, from this moment on, I would never dream again. No visions, no prophetic sleep, no warnings through images. Heaven had revoked my right of foresight. Light returned, the courtyard reappeared. Fang Ting knelt beside me. She wasn't crying. She only looked at me for a long time. "Did you get an answer?" she asked. I nodded. "Yes." "What is it?" I looked at her. "Humans have the right. But they do not have the right to be protected when they use it." Far away, far above, a data thread was marked, not erased, not preserved, only monitored more closely.